What's your pleasure, sir?
The podcast.
Take it. It's yours. It always was.
We're here with Paul T. Taylor, the new Pinhead in Hellraiser Judgment. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be here.
Now, before Hellraiser Judgment, I kind of want to just fill in our viewers on who you are. You've worked with James Gunn. You've worked with Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, I have. I've been very fortunate. I haven't done a lot of movies, but the movies I've done, some of them have been with some very prolific directors. Sin City was my first film, and then getting to do Super, and then what's happened to Mr. Gunn's career since then, it's like, wow, it's amazing. He's a twisted, funny, hilarious genius, and so many adjectives there. So yeah, I've been very lucky with the few movies I have done, and then to inherit the role of Pinhead after 35 years in the business was fantastic.
So what was it like to work with Robert Rodriguez or James Gunn? Did you have a lot of interaction?
Well, my scene in Sin City is very short, but when I walked into the studio, it's the Troublemaker Studios, which he built in Austin. It was my first film, and I walk in, and just it's an amazing building. It's all green screen, so there's this huge wall of green, and all these worker bees just running around doing their jobs. And there sits Robert Rodriguez in front of the monitors on his director's chair, strumming his guitar, the coolest cat in the world. And he's just like, "Hey, Paul, come over here. I want to show you something." And he starts talking about what he wants me to do and stuff. It was really very cool. It was brief. He knew exactly what he wanted. He needed to represent every single frame of the graphic novel of Sin City, and that's exactly what he did. So I knew I was not going to be cut from the movie, which is a good thing to know, because it's, the characters in the graphic novel. And then with Super, it was again, it was a short scene, and I just played a freak with if you know Super, in the opening credits, who is spanking baby Rainn Wilson with a belt in the flashback in the opening. Yeah, James was bizarre and fun and intelligent, and I got to sit next to Liv Tyler in the makeup trailer, and she is just celestial. She glows. Anyway, it was cool. Got to meet Rainn Wilson. That was very cool. So yeah, it was awesome.
Were you a fan of The Office or some of his other shows?
Absolutely. And Slither. Well, okay. Rainn wasn't in Slither, but
James Gunn did Slither, and it's a great movie.
Yeah, exactly. I love
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yes, House of a Thousand Corpses, Rainn Wilson, which is a hoot. It's a hoot.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about how you got the role of Pinhead. How did that come about?
Well, I live in Dallas, Texas. The movie was shot in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma has very good incentives for any congressmen or governors out there who are listening to this. Tax incentives, rebates, get them going in your state so you can get films made there. Oklahoma City has great rebates. So the casting director lives in Oklahoma City. He comes down to Dallas. He's cast me in several things over the years, including a horror film called The Gray Man, which was great fun. But he knows me. He knows I'm kind of a horror freak and bizarre and weird and funny and can speak well. So he thought he'd put me on tape for Pinhead, as well as another role called The Assessor, and I thought I would, I thought it was far more likely that I'd get the role of the assessor, but anyway, that's not what happened.
Is the assessor the one next to you in that photo here?
He's the assessor, as in like a tax assessor, except he's not a tax assessor. He's an assessor of souls. It's a very interesting new Hellraiser concept. It's a new faction in Leviathan. It's really cool story. So yeah, Chris came down. He put me on tape. I had one audition. I did very well because I had 4 days to prepare. I decided it would be the best film audition I'd ever done in my life because I was like, this could be, huge for me personally. So I got the part, and I didn't have a call back. I booked it off tape, which was really cool. Then we just had to wait for the approval of Bob Weinstein, who was at Cannes Film Festival, who just it took a while because boring story. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
So, had you seen the previous Hellraiser films?
Yeah, I've been a huge fan. I took my own Pinhead action figure and a Nika plastic puzzle box to my audition, and I held it in my slate to say, "I'm Paul T. Taylor, and I'm auditioning for Pinhead." You know, and I don't think that probably hurt because I'm a true fan. You know, I knew reading the script, even though when I read the role of the assessor in the original side for the audition, it still was only being called Judgment. It wasn't until later that I got a personal email saying we also want to put Paul on tape for Pinhead. The first line I read of the assessors, I was like, this is a Hellraiser movie. I already knew, you know, because I'm a true fan of the franchise. So,
What's your favorite movie?
I like number 4. I like Bloodlines. I like the story of the Le Marchand's Lamette configuration, and also I like Pinhead in space. I like Pinhead as a hologram. I thought it was very cool. Although, when it really gets down to it, that's more of a novelty than number 1 and number 2, which are amazing. I mean, that's Hellbound Heart. The concept of the evil stepmother killing these men to feed her husband's, the dead lover, bringing him back to life. She was the Hellraiser. Pinhead had 5 minutes in screen time in that movie. I love that one too, of course. You gotta love the originals. And the second one is amazing with Skinless Julia and Dr. Love it. So, but really, if I'm just gonna sit down and watch a Hellraiser movie, number 4 is my favorite.
That's cool. And Kevin Yeager, you know, the makeup guy, directed that one.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah.
So, knowing that you're a Hellraiser fan, you had to have heard the rumblings online about dissatisfaction with Part 9. Knowing that you were coming in and trying where another actor had not been warmly received, did you feel nervous about this?
No. The first conversation I ever had with Gary was about that very thing. And he said, you're going to have haters. You're going to have hardcore Doug Bradley fans. You're going to have people who don't like me. You're going to have this and this and this. Just be ready for that. And I'm like, well, you know what? I got the part of Pinhead. I did my job as an actor. I'm going to do my job now and play Pinhead. And nobody can take that away from me. I try not to even get involved in those discussions. Sometimes I just will, like these Facebook groups and whatever, I'll just kind of go, wow, tough crowd. You know, because I have to have a sense of humor about it. It's a movie. This is a fictional character. It's just like Superman, Batman, Tarzan, Frankenstein monster. How many actors have played those roles? You know, I know Doug Bradley is the original Pinhead, and I respect that completely. I know that Hellraiser Revelations was disappointing to a lot of people. There's nothing I can do about that. That is a fact, and it's also in the past. So all I can do, you know, I'm not afraid of anybody as far as that goes. It's only words. And I hope that people will see the movie and then judge it. I mean, a lot of people have already judged it, and they're like, it's going to be a piece of crap, blah, 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 blah. Okay, if you either want to welcome a new Hellraiser film or you don't. That's up to you. You can live in that world or you can live in the present, whatever. It's a movie. It's a movie role. I got the part, I played the part, and I'm thrilled that I got to do it.
Obviously, you're from Texas. You speak with a very clear Midwestern American accent.
Originally from Kansas, so yeah.
Did you try to do an accent for the role of Pinhead?
Absolutely. I don't think you can play Pinhead and not have... If you're going to be that Pinhead, even though my costume design is different in this, but still, if you're going to do Pinhead, Gary agreed too. It has to be a British accent. It's Clive Barker. It's Doug Bradley, even though it's not Doug Bradley. and I do a good British accent. And it's like, so just do that. It kind of has to be there. I wouldn't want to see Pinhead without a British accent, personally.
Can we get a sample of what your Pinhead voice is, since people haven't seen the movie?
Well, actually, it's my British accent, and they've distorted it a bit to make it more coming from another region. Mm-hmm. So, suffer. I don't know. How dare you use... How dare you use such a word? I didn't shout anything. That's the thing. I don't even know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Was the AV level good?
It's just a very, very droll, dry British accent. A bit like Peter Cushing. A bit, but then they do things. So it's not really this voice that you're hearing right now. It's bassier and more echoey. So...
Evil seeks evil.
How did you approach the role? You mentioned Peter Cushing. What villains other than Doug Bradley did you look at in order to bring Pinhead to the screen?
Ralph Fiennes in Schindler's List, and Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs, and that's pretty much it. At a certain point, I just stopped watching anything and just started spending time alone in the dark in my house in my scary neighborhood, saying my lines and walking around my scary neighborhood in heavy boots and not being afraid of anybody, when normally it's kind of a scary place and scary neighborhood. It can be. So I had to go internal rather than... At a certain point, I just stopped watching things that would influence me and just started using my own history, my own pain, my own suffering, because we all had places we can draw from. If we need to play someone who has suffered or who's in exquisite pain and loves it, or whatever it is, if you can, as an actor, go there, then you just use yourself at a certain point. And then when the costume and makeup is added, that just completes it, so.
Talk to me about the makeup process. What was that like?
First thing they did was do a full head cast. Then from that they poured a plaster. So they do a head cast. I mean, then they it's about this thickness of foam latex glued to my entire head, and it's two large pieces and the lower lip, and that's it, glued on. And it took a little under 2 hours. It's a world record apparently, because it's the 10th film and they've got that down to a science. And then airbrushing. Tweaking the nails. If any of them are crooked, they have to redo them, and the lower lip, and the contacts, and that's it. So it was, for me, it was just sitting in a chair for 2 hours. It was easy.
Were the contacts uncomfortable? I know a lot of people have problems with the sclera lenses.
Yeah, they were pretty uncomfortable. Although the science of it has gotten better over the years. They're not as bad as they used to be. You can wear them for hours now because they are breathable now, and they used to not be. But if something gets in there, you got this glob of stuff right here, and it can be just like, it's not coming out. There's a lot of irritants on the set. So, yeah, there were times when they just had to completely take it out and reinsert.
Did you get to meet Heather Langenkamp while filming?
No, but I met her at Texas Frightmare after the movie shot, because she was a guest there. So I went to see her just to introduce myself and say, "Hey Heather, I'm Pinhead, how are you?" And she's like, "Welcome to your new life." So gesturing around the room of celebrities, I'm like, "What? I'll take it.
How long was the production schedule?
I think it was a month. It was quick. They had it very organized. I mean, it went, they knew what they were doing every second.
So how long did you film on the movie?
I was only there a week. Yeah, I was in Oklahoma City for 1 week.
And what was it like being on set in the full makeup and being Pinhead?
It was surreal. I felt very comfortable. I felt like I was in really good hands. So
We just got done.
it's the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. That's all I can really say. The script is good. Knowing I was speaking good dialogue, playing this character, it was the coolest thing that's ever happened to me.
how would you feel like Heather Langenkamp said you're at a horror con if you ran into Doug Bradley? How would that make you feel? Are you confident enough in your performance to stand up to him?
I think it would depend completely on what he has to say to me. You know, the ball is in his court. He has so much power and so many fans, and you know, what I hope happens is that we find common ground and that we make each other laugh, because it's show business. This bottom line, it's show business. He's not a stupid person. He knows that I auditioned for a role and got it, and I'm not to blame or whatever for anything. If there is any blame to be placed anywhere, it's not on me. So, you know, I think he's cool enough and smart enough. I know he's smart to just be like, I haven't received a text, but my agent received a text from him. Doug actually said, "I wish Paul Taylor no ill will." He said that. So, you know, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's show business.
So as a Hellraiser fan, and since nobody's been able to see the movie yet, how do you feel about Hellraiser Judgment lining up in the Pantheon of Hellraiser films?
I feel like it's a good script, and that it's going to make a lot of fans happy, in that it makes an effort to get back to Clive Barker's style of theme and storytelling. I think the fact that it is a true Hellraiser script, because some of the sequels have not truly started out as Hellraiser scripts, I think that weighs very heavily. It's going to in its favor. There's a new element introduced, which is sort of gives Pinhead an arc in the movie, and which could lead to a sequel that could relate to it. So I think that in itself is a really good thing, because some of these sequels have just been standalone sequels that really haven't had any connection to the next movie, except that Pinhead has been in them, and that the box has been in them. So I think it's gonna. All I can say is I can't wait to see it. I've seen it. I've seen an unpublished trailer. I squealed. I was thrilled. I'm a monster. And it was beautiful, and it reminded me of The Shining to a certain extent, just watching the trailer. That gorgeous blood, it's truly in the Clive Barker style of taking grotesque things and making them beautiful. That's what Gary tries to do with this film.
And when did you film it?
In March of 2018. It will be 2 years ago. So I've been waiting for a while.
So last question, when you look back on being Pinhead, as of now, before the movie's out, what is your favorite memory?
Of me being Pinhead? Yeah. My favorite memory is the first scene I shot in the Pinhead makeup, which was very still, very quiet, sitting on sort of not a throne, but basically a wooden, in Pinhead's space, sitting there, listening to screams of pleasure/pain, and just being there, and the stillness of that. No lines were spoken. That was my favorite thing. It was the first thing we shot. And it just sort of reflected on the Pinhead of Hellraiser Judgment. He's very still. He's maybe older. He's maybe just more settled in his job, or whatever you want to call it, his position. The fact that kind of scene was in this film, I thought was so cool. It wasn't just, okay, bad people land, here's Pinhead, gonna destroy them. No, it was like just presence. That was my favorite thing. Not that I didn't love destroying the people, but that was my favorite thing.
That's awesome. Well, Paul, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. I really look forward to seeing this movie when it comes out, and hopefully I can talk to you at that point.
Absolutely. Anytime. My pleasure. Thank you.
Not leaving us so soon, are you? This retrospective series, and your suffering will be legendary, even in hell. This isn't for your eyes. It's not hands that call us, it is donations.
Oh, come. Oh, you can hear its faint echo right now. I'm here to turn up the volume.
Your financial support keeps this show going for eternity.
Why resist? You love this as much as I.
You'll find more pleasures and sweet, sweet suffering in the Now Playing archives. You can satiate your appetites with reviews of Leprechaun, Child's Play, Phantasm, and so many more.
Feel free. Explore. We have eternity to know your flesh.
For the insatiable, join the Podbean campaign and get exclusive movie reviews, including Clive Barker's Lord Illusions and Get Out. A link to our patron page is at nowplayingpodcast.com/donate.
Still hungry. Ready for something that screams?
The Hellraiser films, all audio clips and music used are the property of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended.
Hell is more ordered since your time, Princess. And much less amusing.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with the motion picture reviewed or otherwise referred to herein.
I know your fear. I hear it.
The trademarks Now Playing and Now Playing Podcast are the exclusive property of Venganza Media Incorporated.
Oh, you suffer beautifully. But I am here for business, not pleasure.
The opinions expressed on Now Playing are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the opinion of Venganza Media Incorporated.
The eternal refrain of humanity, pleading ignorance, begging for mercy. Please help me. I don't understand.
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2017, all rights reserved, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
Welcome to the worst nightmare of all. Reality. Evil seeks evil.
What is going on here?
Let's just dive in, shall we?
What we're investigating is very dark.
Just curious. What do you see?
You think you're too close to this case?
Jesus Christ.
It's him.
What on earth is this place? It isn't.